When did your parents throw you to the wolves and call it character building? My parents demanded that I stay home alone every single weekend from the day I turned 11 so they could live their real lives without the burden of having a son. They called it progressive parenting. That's what they told their friends at dinner parties, wine glasses clinking while they explained how independence builds character. My mother would toss her hair back and laugh about how mature I was for my age. My father would squeeze her thigh under the table and add how their marriage stayed fresh because they prioritized each other. What they meant was they had an open marriage and needed me gone Friday through Sunday so they could host their gatherings, meet their partners, and live like they never had a kid. The first weekend alone, I called them 17 times. My hands shook as I pressed redial, listening to it ring and ring. I was 11 and terrified of the creaking house, the shadows, the silence. When Dad finally answered Sunday morning, his voice was ice cold. "You ruined our entire weekend. You're old enough to handle yourself." The dishwasher incident came next. I'd run it wrong while they were gone and flooded the kitchen. Dad screamed until his face went purple. Not because of the water damage, but because I'd made him come home early. After that, the rules became clear. Don't call, don't need anything, don't exist from Friday afternoon to Sunday night. By 13, I'd memorized which weekends were the worst. The third weekend of each month meant their turn to host. I'd sleep in the garage because the house would be full of strangers. Holiday weekends meant being forgotten entirely. I spent one Thanksgiving eating cereal alone while watching other families through windows, their dining rooms glowing warm. The weekend I broke my wrist falling off my bike at 16, I wrapped it in ice and waited until Monday, biting through the pain for 2 days. When Mom finally drove me to get it x-rayed, she was irritated about missing her yoga class. "You should have been more careful," she snapped, like my broken wrist had messed up her weekend plans instead of my bones. After that, I was done pretending. I started documenting everything. Photos of the empty house, screenshots of unanswered texts, recordings of their voicemails telling me to stop being dramatic. I stopped cleaning up after their weekend parties, stopped hiding in the garage when they brought people home, stopped making myself invisible. I'd sit in the living room reading while their friends arrived, making them explain why their teenage son was home, started asking pointed questions at their dinner parties about progressive parenting, watching them squirm. Mom cornered me after I refused to leave one Friday, tears in her eyes that never quite fell. "Why are you doing this to us? We gave you freedom other kids dream about." But when I turned 17, they decided I was old enough to understand. Dad announced I'd be attending their annual gathering, their biggest event, dozens of their swinger friends, themed costumes, the works. "Time you see what you've been keeping us from all these years," he said, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. The party was at some mansion 40 minutes away. 30 plus adults, champagne fountains, nobody even blinking when they realized I was the only kid there. Someone's hand lingered too long on my shoulder. Someone else made a joke about fresh meat that made everyone laugh. When a woman asked about my childhood during dinner, mentioned how lucky I was to have such progressive parents, something inside me snapped. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking but mind crystal clear, locked the door and dialed 911 from the phone I'd hidden in my jacket when we were supposed to lock our phones in a box upon entering. I kept my voice low and steady. "There's a party at this mansion on Riverside. Alcohol, drugs, and they brought a minor, a 17-year-old boy. His parents made him come." I hung up before they could ask questions. 15 minutes later, sirens split the night. Blue and red lights flooded through the mansion windows. The panic was instant. Adults scrambling, someone yelling about lawyers, champagne glasses shattering on marble floors. The cops separated everyone for statements. When they questioned my parents, I could hear my mother's voice rising, theatrical and desperate. "He's a pathological liar. He wasn't even supposed to be here. Probably snuck in for attention." Dad backed her up, his lawyer smooth voice insisting I had behavioral issues, that I'd crashed their adult dinner party to embarrass them. When they got to me, I told them everything. Showed them photos on my phone, the documentation I'd gathered over the years. One officer's face went dark when I mentioned the garage, the broken wrist, the years of abandonment. Only my parents were arrested that night. They were charged with child neglect and endangerment and for exposing a minor to harmful material. During the investigation, my documentation became evidence. Child services got involved. Within a week, I was packing for Aunt Tarasa's house. She picked me up on a Thursday, Uncle Pete driving their old truck. Tarasa cried the whole ride, apologizing for not seeing it sooner. Their house smells like cinnamon and sawdust. Pete teaches me woodworking in the garage, a garage with heat and windows and a couch. Tarasa packs my lunches with embarrassing notes that I secretly love. They come to parent-teacher conferences, make me text when I'll be late, enforce an actual curfew. They treat me like the kid I never got to be, and it's everything.